I was treated like an outsider at our family reunion. An old man showed up revealing a big secret. I stood by the buffet table watching the Chambers family reunion unfold at Uncle Robert's countryside property. Children darted between adults, teenagers huddled in corners, and elders sat exchanging health updates. Everyone had their place. Everyone except me. My mother Claire died 12 years ago. Cancer. Quick at 43. With her died my connection to the Chambers family. She'd been the black sheep, having me young and unmarried, choosing art over the family business. At 34, I found myself among familiar strangers who shared my blood but not my history. I loaded my plate with food I wouldn't eat. 3 hours in, and I'd received just 2 acknowledgments. A confused nod from Uncle Robert and an awkward handshake from Cousin Patrick. I'd come seeking connection, some thread of belonging. Instead, I felt more isolated than at home. Now, whose kid are you again? Aunt Marjorie, my mother's sister, squinted through bifocals. Her tone wasn't unkind, just confused, which hurt more than rejection.
Claireson. Ellie.
I watched for recognition. We met at Mom's funeral. You brought that green bean casserole. Oh, Claire's boy. Yes, of course. Her smile was empty. You look nothing like your mother. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that. Mom had been vague about my father. Another piece of the family mystery I'd hoped to unravel. Help yourself to more food, Eli. With that dismissal, she drifted back to her circle. My phone buzzed. A text from my roommate. How's the family reunion? I didn't respond. What would I say? That I was more a stranger here than if I'd crashed a random picnic? Dinner was in Uncle Robert's backyard. Tables arranged by generation, elders near the house, middle-aged adult center, and the kids' table furthest out. I hesitated, uncertain where I belonged. Hey, you can sit with us. Jessica, a cousin near my age, offered with forced cheerfulness. I took the empty chair at the end of the kids' table. Conversation flowed around me like water around a stone. My cousins traded stories of shared summers and inside jokes. They passed a weathered photo album, exclaiming over childhood photos from family vacations I hadn't attended. Remember when Grandpa took us all fishing at Lake Henderson? Patrick laughed, pointing at children with fishing rods. I was 6, Jessica corrected. That summer Grandma made us matching t-shirts.
I leaned over.
The photo showed 8 children in blue shirts on a dock. I wasn't among them. I wasn't in any of their photos. My branch of the family tree had been pruned from the family history. Who's ready for Grandma Elaine's famous apple pie? Uncle Robert called, resulting in cheers. Another tradition I'd never known about. As evening progressed, I folded inward. I excused myself for water, needing escape from the weight of not belonging. In the kitchen, I overheard 2 aunts talking. Don't know why he even came. Claire never brought him around. That was Aunt Patricia. Probably just here for the free food. He's not really family. Uncle Robert's wife, Susan. Claire made her choices. I froze. A familiar hollowness opened in my chest. The same from my mother's funeral when the minister spoke as if he'd known her when she'd never entered a church. The emptiness I'd carried wondering about the family beyond my reach. I texted my roommate, big mistake coming here. Setting down the glass, I walked out, heading for my car. I'd given this experiment 3 hours. Whatever answers I sought weren't here, just more questions and quiet humiliations. Keys in hand, I was unlocking my car when an old engine growled into the driveway. A rusty blue pickup stopped among the luxury vehicles. The driver's door creaked open. An elderly man emerged slowly, supporting himself against the door. He wore a dated suit and clutched a manila folder. His white hair was neatly combed, deep creases lining his weathered face. The gathering went quiet. Uncle Robert stood, straightening his shirt as if addressing an intruder. But the old man's sharp eyes found me by my car. He raised a hand in greeting. Eli Chambers? His voice carried with surprising strength. I've been looking for you. Every head turned toward me. For the first time that day, I had the family's attention. Yes, I approached cautiously.
I'm Ellie.
My name is Harold Whitaker. I was your mother's lawyer and friend. His handshake was firm despite his age. I've been trying to track you down. Only found out about this gathering through the church bulletin. Family members drifted closer, curiosity overcoming indifference. Uncle Robert approached authoritatively. Mr. Whitaker?
I'm Robert Chambers.
What brings you to our family gathering? His tone carried suspicion. Harold straightened. I have documents for Eli. Matters that should have been addressed years ago. He turned to me. Your mother asked me to find you when the time was right. My heartbeat quickened. What kind of documents? Harold glanced at the gathering crowd. Perhaps we should speak privately. Whatever you have to say to Eli, you can say to all of us. Aunt Marjorie interjected. We're family. The irony wasn't lost on me after a day of being treated as anything but. I looked at Harold, who raised an eyebrow. Something in his gaze gave me courage. It's fine. Say what you came to say. Harold opened the folder. These are letters from your grandfather, Edward Chambers, to your mother. 17 of them, written after your birth, never sent. He handed me the stack. Your mother left these in my safekeeping. I noted the handwriting matching the single birthday card I'd received from my grandfather when I was 6. There's also this. Harold removed a document with an official seal. A DNA test from 1991, after you were born. Uncle Robert intercepted it. What is this about? His welcoming tone vanished. Harold remained calm. It's about the truth, Mr. Chambers. Something your father concealed. A murmur ran through the family. The older generation had gone pale. The truth, Harold continued, is that Edward Chambers had a relationship before marriage. That relationship resulted in Claire's birth. Your sister wasn't your full sister. She was Edward's firstborn child. Silence followed. Even children stopped playing, sensing tension. That's ridiculous, Uncle Robert managed unconvincingly. My father would never. Your father did, Harold interrupted. When Mary Ellison died in childbirth, Edward brought the baby to his new wife and claimed Claire as their own. Your mother raised Claire as her daughter. But she knew, and eventually so did Claire. My mind reeled. My mother not actually a Chambers by birth? That's not possible, Aunt Patricia protested. Claire was just difficult. Made things up. Harold shook his head. Claire learned at 25 when she announced her pregnancy with Eli. Edward feared the truth would emerge another way. He looked at me compassionately. Your mother left not because she was a black sheep, but because she discovered she'd been living a lie. I stared at the letters. All these years feeling like I didn't belong, and my mother had felt the same. There's one more document, Harold said, producing yellowed paper. Edward's original will from 1993, 3 years before the version eventually executed. He handed it directly to me. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. In this will, Harold explained, Edward acknowledged Claire as his firstborn and Eli as his first grandchild. He left specific bequests, including the lake property at Henderson that the family used until Robert sold it 5 years ago. That property belonged to all of us, Robert protested weakly.
No, Harold corrected.
According to the original will, the lake house and 50 acres were left specifically to Eli. But this will disappeared after Edward's death, replaced by one distributing the property equally, excluding Claire. Someone gasped. Aunt Marjorie pressed a hand to her mouth, tears of shame in her eyes. You knew, I said softly. She nodded slightly. We all did, the older ones. It was easier not to talk about it. Claire left, and when she got sick, she couldn't meet my eyes. Harold produced a small brass key. This was for the lake property's boathouse where Edward kept personal papers. The property may be gone, but you should have this. He placed it in my palm. Your grandfather made many mistakes, but in the end, he wanted to make things right. The key felt both foreign and familiar, something meant for me that took a winding path to arrive. That can't be true, Patrick blurted out, flushed. If Uncle Robert sold property that wasn't legally his, there are statutes of limitations, Harold said calmly. I'm not here to cause legal troubles. Just to deliver what was entrusted to me. The atmosphere shifted. Family members who barely acknowledged me hours ago now stared with new interest. I was still the same person, still Claire's son, still peripheral. But something fundamental had changed. Their narrative about my mother and me had crumbled. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. Eli, perhaps we should discuss this inside. Over drinks. His tone was conciliatory, almost desperate. Family matters should stay within the family. I looked at them all. Aunt Marjorie wouldn't meet my eyes. Aunt Patricia studied her manicure. Cousins exchanged uncertain glances. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, I said, for keeping your promise to my mother. Harold smiled. Claire was remarkable. Very much like her father in the best ways, stubborn, principled. She would be proud of you standing here. He handed me the folder with remaining documents. My number's inside if you have questions. Some truths are harder to digest than others. He returned to his truck with dignity. We watched in silence as the blue pickup disappeared down the driveway, leaving a cloud of dust and a family in disarray. Ellie. Jessica approached cautiously. Do you want to sit back down? Mom's cutting the pie. I looked at the cousin who had offered me a chair out of obligation. Now she seemed genuinely interested. Around us, family members drifted closer, their former indifference replaced by eagerness. Why don't you take my seat, Eli? It's closer to everyone, Patrick offered, gesturing to the middle of the table. I glanced at the folder and key in my hand. The truth hadn't changed who I was, but it had changed how they saw me. Sure, I said quietly. I'd like that. As I took the offered seat at the center of the table, surrounded by relatives suddenly eager to include me, I felt no triumph, just a strange calm certainty. For the first time, I wasn't the one who felt out of place at a Chambers family gathering. And as Aunt Marjorie served me the first slice of Grandma Elaine's famous apple pie, a recipe supposedly passed through generations of Chambers women, including my mother, I recognized the irony. I came seeking answers about where I belonged in this family. What I found was that perhaps it had never been about fitting into their world. Perhaps it was always about making space for the truth in mine.